The stars burned bright around the battle zone as Captain Elena Vasquez watched the enemy ships move closer. Her ship, the Indomitable, was the largest human vessel in the fleet. Around her, dozens of other ships waited for her command. "Harvester fleet incoming," reported her weapons officer. 300 ships, maybe more. Elena nodded. She had fought these metal monsters before. The harvesters were machines, not living beings. They traveled across the galaxy, eating planets and turning everything into more of themselves. For 200 years, humans and their allies had fought to stop them. "Where is War Crystal HFY?" Elena asked. "The Zephyrian fleet is moving into position now, Captain," came the reply. Elena smiled. HFY was her oldest friend in space. The Zephyrian was made of living crystal that could change color with his emotions. Right now, his ship glowed bright blue, the color of battle excitement for his people. The communications screen lit up. HFY's face appeared, his crystal features sharp and clear. "Elena, old friend, are you ready for another dance with these metal devils?" "Always ready when you're leading the music, Thex," Elena replied. They had been fighting together for 15 years. Human ships were tough and could fix almost anything. Zephyrian ships were fast and hit hard. Together, they were nearly unstoppable. "Harvester ships are splitting into 3 groups," reported the scanner officer. "They're trying to surround us." Elena studied the display. The harvesters always fought the same way. They used numbers and tried to overwhelm their enemies. But humans had learned to turn that against them. "Thex, see the gap in their center formation?" Elena pointed to her screen. "Yes, but it looks like a trap," HFY replied, his crystal body shifting to yellow, the color of worry. "It is a trap," Elena agreed. "That's why we're going to spring it." This was what made human and Zephyrian partnerships so powerful. Zephyrians were perfect warriors, disciplined, strong, and brave, but humans were crazy enough to do things that made no sense, and somehow make them work. "All ships, listen carefully," Elena announced to both fleets. "We're going to charge straight into their center. When they close the trap, we split up. Zephyrian ships go high, human ships go low. We'll hit them from angles they can't predict." "That plan is insane," said Commander Torres from another human ship. "Exactly," Elena grinned. "That's why it'll work." The combined fleet moved forward. The harvester ships spread out like a net, ready to catch them. Elena counted the seconds. The enemy was so focused on their trap that they missed what the humans were really doing. "Now!" Elena shouted. The human ships suddenly dove down while the Zephyrian ships shot upward. The harvester formation, built to catch ships flying straight, found itself attacked from above and below at the same time. "Target their command ships," HFY ordered his fleet. His ships moved like dancers, each one perfectly in sync with the others. Elena's ships spread out and attacked the harvester supply vessels. Without supplies, the enemy couldn't repair their damaged ships. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the harvester fleet was destroyed. The human and Zephyrian ships regrouped near a small moon. "Another victory for the greatest partnership in the galaxy," HFY said as he came aboard Elena's ship. His crystal body was now deep purple, the color of satisfaction. "We make a good team," Elena agreed. They walked to the ship's observation deck and looked out at the stars. "Elena, can I ask you something?" HFY said quietly. "Always. Why do humans fight so hard for people you barely know? Your species could have stayed on Earth, safe and protected. Instead, you travel across the galaxy to help strangers." Elena thought about the question. "Because once we decide someone is our friend, they become family. And family protects family, no matter what." HFY's body shifted to warm orange, the color of deep respect among his people. "That is why the old Keeper texts speak of humans with such reverence." "What do you mean?" "The Keepers are the oldest species in the galaxy. They keep records of everything. In their most ancient files, there is a rule written in letters of gold. Never betray the humans, for they remember everything, and forgive nothing. Elena laughed. That makes us sound scary. Perhaps, HFY said thoughtfully. But the next line says, earn their loyalty, and they will die before they abandon you. That is not scary. That is beautiful. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Around them, human and Zephyrian crews worked together to repair their ships. Engineers from both species shared tools and knowledge. Medical teams treated wounded from both fleets without caring about species. This was what the galaxy could be, Elena thought. Different peoples working together, making each other stronger. Humans brought creativity and determination. Zephyrians brought honor and precision. Other species brought their own gifts. Elena, HFY said suddenly, promise me something. What? If anything ever happens to our alliance, remember that not all Zephyrians are the same. Some of us believe that honor is more important than life itself. Winnevian, we are sanely. Elena looked at her friend with concern. Thex, what are you talking about? Our alliance is stronger than ever. I know, there are those among my people who think differently than I do. They believe survival is more important than loyalty. I hope they never get the chance to prove their philosophy. Hey, Elena put her hand on HFY's crystal shoulder. Nothing is going to break us apart. We've been through too much together. HFY's body glowed warm blue again. You are right, my friend. Forgive an old warrior's worries. But as they prepared to return to base, neither of them knew that far across the galaxy, a group of Zephyrian nobles was meeting in secret. These nobles looked at star charts showing their dying homeworld and discussed things that would have horrified HFY. War Crystal Vexmar stood before the secret council. The harvesters have contacted us, he announced. They offer salvation for our world. All they want in exchange is information about human military secrets. That would be betrayal of the highest order, protested one noble. That would be survival, Vexmar replied coldly. And survival trumps honor when your entire species faces extinction. The vote was close, but Vexmar won. The die was cast, though the galaxy did not know it yet. The oldest rule was about to be broken, and everyone would learn why it had been written in the first place. 3 months after the victory against the Harvester fleet, War Crystal HFY received the worst news of his life. His homeworld was dying. He stood in the communication chamber of his ship, staring at the message from the Zephyrian High Council. The words seemed impossible, but the science was clear. Their sun was burning out faster than anyone had predicted. Instead of having 1,000 years left, they had maybe 50. How is this possible? He asked the council member on the screen. Our scientists believe the sun's core was damaged during the Great War with the Void Swarm 500 years ago, came the reply. The damage is only now showing its effects. HFY's crystal body turned deep gray, the color of despair. What can be done? There is only one substance that can heal a dying star, quintessium. But the only known source is in the Crab Nebula, deep in Harvester territory. HFY closed the communication and sat down heavily. His people were going to die, and there was nothing he could do about it. The Crab Nebula was the Harvester's main stronghold. No fleet had ever penetrated that deep into their space and returned. He thought about calling Elena, but what could he say? That his entire species needed her to help them fight a suicide mission against impossible odds? Even human loyalty had limits. While HFY struggled with despair, War Crystal Vexmar was meeting with a very different kind of messenger. The meeting took place on a dead moon at the edge of Zephyrian space. Vexmar brought only his most trusted followers. The Harvester representative was unlike any they had seen before. Sleeker, more advanced, almost elegant in its design. You summoned us, Vexmar said. Speak your offer. The Harvester's voice was smooth and strangely hypnotic. We know of your people's situation. Your son dies, and with it, your species. We offer salvation. What do you want in return? Information. Specifically, detailed intelligence about human military capabilities, their ship designs, their defensive networks around Earth, and the location of their secret research facilities. Vex's Mars body flickered between colors: red for anger, yellow for fear, purple for ambition. You ask us to betray our greatest allies. We ask you to save your species. The humans are not your people. The Zephyrians are. Which matters more, their trust or your children's lives? One of Vexmar's followers, War Crystal Kethmar, stepped forward. This is madness. The humans have bled for us. They have died protecting our colonies. And what has that sacrifice bought us? Vexmar snapped. Our sun still dies. Our people still face extinction. Human friendship cannot save us now. The Harvester waited patiently as the Zephyrians argued among themselves. When they fell silent, it spoke again. We offer enough refined quintessium to heal your sun and extend its life for another 10,000 years. All we require is complete intelligence on human military assets. Consider carefully. This offer will not be made again. The debate continued for hours. Some argued for honor, others for survival. In the end, survival won. The vote was close. 12 for the deal, 10 against. But it was enough. We accept, Vexmar announced. But we need time to gather the intelligence. You have 1 month, the Harvester replied. Gather everything. Ship specifications, weapon capabilities, defense grids, command codes, strategic plans. Leave nothing out. As the meeting ended, neither side mentioned that they were planning to betray the other. The Harvesters intended to destroy the Zephyrians after using them to eliminate the humans. Vexmar planned to take the quintessium and then warn the humans about the Harvester attack. But the galaxy rarely goes according to plan. War Crystal Thexhai discovered the plot by accident. He was reviewing supply requests when he noticed unusual data transfers from the military archives. Someone was copying classified human intelligence files. He traced the transfers to Vexmar's personal network. His blood ran cold as he realized what was happening. He called an emergency meeting with Vexmar, hoping there was some innocent explanation. You are copying human military secrets, Thexhai said without preamble when they met in Vexmar's private chambers. I am saving our people, Vexmar replied calmly. By betraying our allies? By doing what you lack the courage to do. Our sun dies, Thexhai. In 50 years, every Zephyrian who ever lived will be dead. But you care more about human feelings than Zephyrian survival. Thexhai's body blazed bright red. I care about honor. I care about the fact that humans have died for us. Honor will not save our children. The Harvesters will give us quintessium in exchange for human intelligence. It is the only way. The Harvesters are machines of destruction. They cannot be trusted. Neither can extinction, Vexmar replied coldly. The deal is made. The data transfer will be complete within hours. Thexhai realized that argument was useless. He had to warn Elena before it was too late. He turned to leave. But Vexmar's voice stopped him. I cannot let you interfere. Thexhai spun around to see Vexmar holding a crystal resonator, a weapon that could shatter another Zephyrian's body at the molecular level. You would kill your own people to protect this betrayal? Thexhai asked in shock. I would kill anyone to save our species, Vexmar replied. Even you, old friend. The weapon fired. Thexhai's crystal body began to crack and fragment. As he fell, he managed to activate his personal communicator and send one final message to Elena. Forgive us. The message was cut short as Thexhai's body shattered completely. Hours later, the intelligence transfer was complete. The Harvesters now possessed detailed information about human defenses, ship capabilities, and the location of Earth's most secret installations. The Harvester fleet began moving immediately. Their target was not just human military bases, but human worlds themselves. If they could eliminate humanity's ability to fight, the galaxy would fall like dominoes. Elena received Thexhai's broken message while inspecting a new space station. At first, she could not understand what he was trying to say. Then the pieces came together, and her blood turned to ice. She tried to contact Thexhai, but got no response. She tried to reach other Zephyrian commanders, but they were all unavailable. Finally, she sent a message directly to Vexmar. "Elena, my dear friend." Vexmar appeared on screen, his body a calm blue that she now recognized as fake. "I regret that you received that message." HFY was unwell. He had been making wild accusations and paranoid claims. "Where is he now?" Elena asked. "Resting. He suffered a breakdown and is receiving medical attention." Elena knew it was a lie. She could see it in the way Vexmar's crystal body flickered almost imperceptibly, a sign of deception that HFY had taught her to recognize years ago. "I need to speak with him directly," she insisted. "I am afraid that is impossible, but do not worry, our alliance remains strong. In fact, we would like to invite human fleets to join us for a massive operation against Harvester forces next week." Elena realized with growing horror what was happening. The Zephyrians had betrayed them to the Harvesters. They were trying to lure human fleets away from Earth just before an attack. She cut the communication and immediately sent warning messages to Earth and all human colonies. But she was too late. Even as her warnings traveled across space, Harvester fleets were already moving into position. The oldest rule in the galaxy was about to be broken, and the consequences would shake the foundations of civilization itself. The Harvester attack came like a storm across the galaxy. Using the stolen Zephyrian intelligence, they struck 17 human colonies in a single coordinated assault. The attacks were precise and devastating. They knew exactly where the defenses were weakest. Captain Elena Vasquez watched from her ship as New Terra, home to 8 million humans, burned under Harvester bombardment. The colony's shields, which should have held for days, collapsed in hours because the enemy knew their exact frequency patterns. "Captain, we have reports coming in from across human space," her communications officer announced grimly. "Azure Colony, overrun. New Boston, evacuating. Kepler Station, destroyed. They're hitting us everywhere at once." Elena felt something cold settle in her chest. This was not just an attack. It was attempted genocide. The Harvesters were trying to wipe out humanity in one massive strike. "Any word from Earth?" she asked. "Earth's outer defenses have been breached for the first time in 200 years. They're holding the inner system, but barely." For a moment, Elena thought about revenge. Every instinct screamed at her to gather the human fleet and strike back at the Zephyrians who had made this massacre possible. But then she remembered something HFY had once told her. "The greatest victory is when your enemy defeats himself." "Open a channel to all human forces," she ordered. When every human ship, base, and colony was listening, Elena spoke in a calm, cold voice that somehow carried more menace than any scream of rage. "This is Admiral Elena Vasquez, assuming command of all human forces. As of this moment, all human personnel are ordered to withdraw from galactic affairs immediately. Return to human space. Cease all cooperation with non-human entities. Cut all diplomatic ties. The galaxy has chosen to stand without us. Now they will learn what that truly means." The response from other species was immediate and panicked. "Elena, please reconsider," came a message from the Aquatic Federation. "Our deep space colonies depend on human life support technology. Without your engineers, millions will die." "The insectoid hive requests continued human medical assistance," pleaded another message. "Our larvae are dying of the crystal plague. Only human doctors understand how to treat multi-species diseases." Elena deleted every message without reading it fully. She had one priority now: protecting what remained of humanity. But Admiral Chen Wei, the highest-ranking human in the Galactic Defense Force, had a different message for the galaxy. He appeared on every major communication channel, his ancient face carved from stone. "People of the galaxy," he began. "Humanity has served you faithfully for over 200 years. We have bled for your worlds, died for your children, and given our best minds to solve your problems. Today, that service ends." He paused, letting the words sink in. "The Zephyrians have chosen to betray us to our enemies. They have provided intelligence that led to the deaths of millions of humans. They violated the oldest rule in the galaxy: never betray the humans. Now they will learn why that rule was written. The transmission ended, but its effects rippled across civilization. Within days, the galaxy began to understand what humanity's withdrawal really meant. Dr. Sarah Chen, the only human doctor at Rigel Medical Station, packed her belongings as alien patients begged her to stay. "Please, doctor," pleaded a crystalloid patient whose species she had spent years learning to treat. "You are the only one who understands our physiology." "I'm sorry," Sarah replied quietly. "Find another way." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Human engineers who had designed impossible machines for other species deleted their files and departed. Human traders who had found safe routes through dangerous space took their knowledge with them. Human teachers who had spent decades learning alien languages and customs simply vanished. Commander James Park received his orders while supervising the construction of a massive defensive platform for the Aquatic Federation. The project was half finished and would protect millions of aquatic civilians. "Sir," his assistant asked, "what about the defense platform? If we leave now, it will never work properly." "Not our problem anymore," James replied, watching his teams pack up their equipment. "They wanted to stand without us. Let them figure it out." But while the galaxy struggled with humanity's absence, humans were not idle. Elena had given orders for something much more sinister than withdrawal. "Operation Ghost Hunt is now active," she announced to a select group of human commanders. "Small units only. No large fleets. We're going to systematically eliminate every harvester unit in the galaxy." "Ma'am, that's impossible," protested Captain Morrison. "There are thousands of them scattered across hundreds of systems." "Then we'd better get started," Elena replied with a cold smile. The hunt began immediately. Small human ships, no more than 3 or 4 at a time, began appearing in star systems where harvesters had been spotted. They struck without warning, destroyed their targets completely, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The harvesters had never faced this kind of warfare. They were used to large fleet battles where they could use their numerical superiority, but humans fought like ghosts, appearing from nowhere, killing efficiently, and disappearing before retaliation was possible. Captain Lisa Rodriguez commanded one of these ghost ships. Her tiny crew had destroyed 12 harvester units in 2 weeks without being detected once. "How are they not finding us?" her engineer asked as they prepared for another strike. "Because we're not fighting their war anymore," Lisa replied. "We're fighting ours. And in our war, we don't play fair." The harvesters began to panic. Their carefully planned conquest of the galaxy was falling apart. They had expected humanity to gather its fleets for massive retaliatory battles. Instead, humans had become an invisible plague, eating away at harvester forces one small unit at a time. Meanwhile, the species that had depended on humanity faced growing disasters. The Crystalline Collective's main research facility suffered a catastrophic failure when their human-designed containment systems malfunctioned. Without human engineers to fix them, the facility was lost. 3 Aquatic Federation colonies had to be evacuated when their life support systems broke down. The technology had been designed by humans, and no one else understood how to repair it. Most devastating of all, the insectoid hive lost an entire generation of larvae to the crystal plague. Human doctors had been working on a cure for decades. But when they left, they took all their research with them. "This is madness," declared Ambassador Klex of the Tentacled Republic during an emergency Galactic Council session. "We must make peace with the humans before it's too late." "Peace?" snorted Ambassador Yix of the Aquatic Federation. "They're not talking to anyone. They've cut all communication. It's like they've decided we don't exist." "Then what do you suggest?" asked Ambassador Klex. "We contact the Zephyrians," came the reply. "They started this mess. They need to fix it." But the Zephyrians had problems of their own. The quintessium they had received from the harvesters was not healing their sun as promised. Instead, it was making the star more unstable. Their solar system would be dead within months, not saved for thousands of years. War Crystal Vexmar stared at the reports in disbelief. "This cannot be correct," he said to his scientists. I'm afraid it is, replied the lead researcher. The quintessium is poisoned. It was designed to accelerate our sun's death, not prevent it. We have been deceived. Vexmar's crystal body turned black, the color of ultimate despair. He had betrayed humanity's trust, murdered HFY, and doomed his own people for nothing. The harvesters had played him perfectly. Meanwhile, in a secret location in human space, Admiral Chenwei studied reports from the ghost fleets. In 3 months, they had eliminated over 200 harvester units, without losing a single human ship. Sir, his aide reported, we're receiving desperate messages from across the galaxy. Everyone wants to negotiate. Are any of them from the Zephyrians? Chen asked. Several, sir. All claiming that Vex'Mar acted without authorization. Chen smiled coldly. Too little, too late. They made their choice. Now they live with the consequences. 8. He looked out at the stars, where invisible human ships continued their deadly work. The galaxy was learning why the oldest rule existed. Some lessons could only be taught through pain. 6 months after humanity's withdrawal, the galaxy was dying. Ambassador Klex of the Tentacled Republic stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council, his tentacles drooping with exhaustion. The situation continues to worsen, he reported. 17 systems have fallen to various disasters in the past month alone. The council chamber, once filled with confident representatives from dozens of species, now held only a handful of desperate survivors. Many civilizations had already collapsed without human support. The Aquatic Federation has lost 40% of our colonies, announced Ambassador Yix, her gills fluttering with stress. Our people are suffocating in their own atmosphere processors because we cannot repair the human-designed systems. The crystalline collective fares no better, added Ambassador Zex, his crystal form dim and cracked. Without human engineers to maintain our quantum reactors, we are reverting to primitive power sources. But the worst report came from the military. General Thorak of the United Defense Force delivered the news that everyone feared. Without human tactical advisors, we have suffered crushing defeats against even minor threats. The Void Pirates have taken 12 systems. The Scavenger clans are raiding at will. And the Harvesters. He paused, his voice breaking. The Harvesters are advancing on every front. The truth was worse than anyone wanted to admit. For 2 centuries, humanity had been the backbone of galactic civilization, not through force or dominance, but through their unique ability to solve impossible problems and adapt to any situation. Dr. Zara Vex, Chief Medical Officer for the insectoid hive, sat in her empty laboratory surrounded by the bodies of larvae that she could not save. The crystal plague that killed young insectoids had been held in check for decades by human doctors who understood the complex interaction between different species biologies. Forgive me, little ones, she whispered to the dead. I do not have their knowledge. Across the galaxy, similar tragedies played out daily. The humans had not just withdrawn their ships and soldiers, they had taken with them centuries of accumulated knowledge about how to make a multi-species galaxy actually work. Captain Horik of the Reptilian Defense Fleet stared at his tactical display in confusion. A small band of Void Pirates had just defeated his entire squadron, using strategies that made no sense to his military training. How did they outmaneuver us? He asked his tactical officer. I do not know, sir. According to our combat manuals, their formation should have been suicidal. But somehow, they turned our own weapons against us. What Horik did not understand was that his combat manuals had been written by human strategists who understood how to fight against conventional tactics. Without humans to adapt those strategies to new threats, the galaxy's military forces were helpless against creative enemies. Meanwhile, the Zephyrian civilization faced its own doom. Their sun continued to destabilize despite all efforts to save it. The poisoned quintessium had accelerated the solar collapse beyond any hope of repair. War Crystal Cathala, daughter of the murdered HFY, worked desperately in the Central Archives, searching for any record that might help save her people. She had spent months investigating her father's death and had uncovered the full scope of Vexmar's betrayal. There, she said to herself, finding the communication logs she had been seeking. Father tried to warn them. He died trying to preserve the alliance. She activated her personal communicator and sent a message toward human space, knowing it would probably be ignored, like all the others. Captain Elena Vasquez, this is War Crystal Kethala, daughter of Thex High. I have evidence that my father discovered Vexmar's betrayal and was murdered trying to warn you. He died with honor, trying to preserve the bond between our peoples. I know you have no reason to trust any Zephyrian, but I thought you should know that some of us never betrayed you. She sent the message and returned to her hopeless task of trying to save a dying world. But far away, the galaxy's problems were about to become much worse. In the depths of the Crab Nebula, the Harvester High Command gathered to review their conquest progress. The chamber was vast and filled with mechanical beings of every size and function. Report, commanded the Supreme Harvester. A massive construction of metal and hatred. The human elimination protocol has exceeded expectations, replied the Intelligence Harvester. Their military strength has been reduced by 70%. Their colonies are scattered and isolated. Excellent. And the other species? Excellent. Collapsing as predicted. Without human innovation and adaptability, they cannot maintain their technology or coordinate effective resistance. The Supreme Harvester's optical sensors glowed with satisfaction. Then it is time for the final phase. Begin full galactic invasion. Eliminate all organic life. Sir, interrupted another unit. What about the remaining human forces? They continue to destroy our units, using unconventional tactics. Irrelevant. They are too few to matter. Once we control the major population centers, the remaining humans will be hunted down and destroyed. What the Harvesters did not understand was that this had always been their plan. The betrayal by Vexmar had simply been the first step in a larger strategy to eliminate all organic life in the galaxy. The Harvesters had tried for centuries to conquer the galaxy through direct military action, but one factor had always stopped them: human unpredictability. While other species could be calculated and countered, humans consistently did things that made no logical sense but somehow worked. By tricking the Zephyrians into providing intelligence about human capabilities, the Harvesters had gained crucial insights into human military thinking. But more importantly, they had turned the galaxy against its most creative defenders. Now, with humans isolated and the other species weakened, the Harvesters began their final assault. Massive fleets emerged from the Crab Nebula and struck simultaneously across dozens of systems. This time, they were not content to simply harvest resources. They intended to exterminate every living being in the galaxy. The Aquatic Federation's home system fell in 6 hours. The Reptilian Defense Force was destroyed in a single day. The Crystalline Collective's main worlds were turned to dust and metal within a week. Ambassador Kleck sent one final, desperate message toward human space before his homeworld was consumed. We were wrong. We were all wrong. The humans were the only thing standing between us and extinction. Please, if any humans receive this, we are sorry. We understand now why the ancient rule existed. Please forgive us. The message was cut short as Harvester ships began dismantling his planet piece by piece. In a hidden bunker on a dead moon, War Crystal Vexmar received reports of the galactic holocaust with growing horror. His betrayal had not saved his people. It had doomed the entire galaxy. This is not what they promised, he said to his few remaining followers. They said they only wanted to eliminate human military capabilities. You were a fool, replied War Crystal Jethic, his former ally. The Harvesters are machines of destruction. They never intended to honor any agreement. Vexmar's crystal body flickered between colors as he processed the magnitude of his failure. He had murdered his oldest friend, betrayed his species' most loyal allies, and delivered the galaxy to its enemies. All for nothing. Is there any word from the humans? He asked desperately. Nothing. They maintained complete silence. But silence did not mean inaction. In the shadows between the stars, human ghost fleets continued their work. Captain Elena Vasquez had received Kethala's message about her father's honor. And for the first time in months, A spark of something other than cold rage flickered in her heart. Perhaps some bonds could be rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal. But first, the galaxy would have to survive what it had brought upon itself. The harvesters were coming for everyone now, and only the humans had the knowledge and creativity to stop them. The question was, would humanity choose to save a galaxy that had abandoned them, or would they let the universe burn? Captain Elena Vasquez read Kethala's message for the 100th time, as harvester fleets swept across the galaxy like a plague of metal locusts. Around her, the command center of the hidden human base buzzed with activity as officers coordinated the ghost war that had been raging for months. "Admiral," reported Captain Torres, "we've eliminated another 3 harvester scout groups, but they're not slowing down. They're hitting civilian targets now. Complete extermination protocols." Elena stared at the tactical display showing the galaxy burning. Entire species were being wiped out while she sat in safety, nursing her anger and wounded pride. For 6 months, humanity had watched from the shadows as their former allies paid the price for betrayal. "Ma'am," her communications officer said quietly, "we're receiving thousands of distress calls. The Aquatic Federation is requesting immediate assistance. The Crystalline Collective is begging for evacuation support. Even the Zephyrians are asking for help." "Let them burn," suggested Commander Park, his voice hard. "They chose this fate when they betrayed us." Elena looked at the message from Kethala again. "He died with honor, trying to preserve the bond between our peoples." Thex High had been willing to die to warn humanity about the betrayal. Meanwhile, she was letting his daughter's entire species die for the crimes of others. "Get me Admiral Chen," Elena ordered. The elderly admiral appeared on screen from the hidden command center on Luna. His face showed the weight of 6 months spent watching the galaxy collapse. "Elena, I know what you're thinking," Chen said before she could speak. "But we cannot save everyone. The betrayal cost us too much. We lost 17 worlds and millions of our people because they gave our secrets to the enemy. Some of them never betrayed us," Elena replied. "Thex High died trying to warn us. His daughter has spent months sending us evidence of her father's loyalty. One honorable Zephyrian does not erase the betrayal of the rest. Maybe not. But it proves that not all of them are guilty." Chen was quiet for a moment. "What do you propose?" "Operation Final Dawn," Elena said, using the code name she had been developing in secret. "We end this war once and for all. But we save who we can save. The harvesters have numerical superiority of 1,000 to 1. Even with our new weapons, we cannot fight their entire fleet directly." Elena smiled coldly. "Who said anything about fighting fair?" 3 hours later, Elena's personal ship departed the hidden base with a single destination, the dying Zephyrian homeworld. War Crystal Kethala was in the archives when her people detected the approaching human vessel. She rushed to the communications center, her crystal body shifting between hope and fear. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez, of the Human Defense Force," came the voice that had haunted Kethala's dreams for months. "I received your message about your father." "Captain Vasquez," Kethala said, her voice trembling. I know you have no reason to trust any Zephyrian, but my father died trying to preserve our alliance. I can prove it." "I believe you," Elena replied, surprising the young Zephyrian. "Your father was the most honorable being I ever knew. I should have remembered that honor is inherited, not inherited guilt." Elena's ship docked with the Zephyrian command station. When she walked into the meeting chamber, Kethala saw that the human looked older, harder, marked by months of grief and rage, but her eyes still held the spark of the friend her father had spoken of so often. "Show me the evidence," Elena said. Kethala presented the communication logs, security recordings, and testimony from witnesses. Elena studied everything carefully, her expression unreadable. "Your father tried to warn me, and Vexmar killed him for it," Elena finally said. "Thex High died with honor, yes, and our species will die with shame unless—" Kethala hesitated. "Unless what?" "Unless someone gives us the chance to redeem that honor." Elena looked out the viewport at the dying Zephyrian sun. "Your homeworld has maybe days left before solar collapse. I know. That is why Vexmar made his devil's bargain. He thought survival was worth any price. And what do you think? I think my father was right. Some things are more important than survival. Honor, loyalty, the bonds between peoples who fight together against the darkness. Elena made her decision. Gather every Zephyrian ship that can still fly. I'm going to show you how humans really fight when we stop holding back. Word spread quickly through what remained of the galactic communication network. Humanity was returning to the war. But this time, they were not coming to save everyone. They were coming to save those who deserved salvation and to destroy those who had brought doom upon the galaxy. Admiral Chen coordinated the largest human operation in over 2 centuries. Every ghost ship, every hidden base, every secret weapon that humanity had developed during their months of isolation was brought into play. All units, this is Admiral Chen, he announced to the assembled human fleet. Today we end the Harvester threat forever. But remember, we are not just fighting for revenge. We are fighting to rebuild a galaxy where honor matters more than survival. The human fleet emerged from hiding like a pack of wolves. But these were not the same ships that had withdrawn 6 months ago. Human engineers, free from the need to share their innovations with allies, had developed new technologies that bordered on magic. Captain Rodriguez commanded one of the new stealth destroyers that could appear and disappear at will. Target the Harvester command ship, she ordered. Let's cut the head off this snake. The Harvester fleet was massive, thousands of ships arranged in perfect mechanical formation. They had been systematically destroying the last pockets of organic resistance when the humans struck. But this was not the careful, methodical warfare that other species practiced. This was human warfare. Chaotic, creative, and absolutely terrifying to mechanical minds that relied on predictable patterns. Human ships appeared from impossible angles, struck with weapons the Harvesters had never seen, and vanished before retaliation was possible. They used gravitational anomalies as weapons, turned Harvester communications against them, and fought with a savage creativity that no artificial intelligence could calculate. How are they doing this? Demanded the Supreme Harvester, as his fleet began to collapse around him. Our analysis indicated human capabilities were reduced by 70%. They appear to have been developing new technologies while in hiding, replied the Intelligence Harvester. Their tactical patterns are completely unpredictable. What the Harvesters could not understand was that humans had spent 6 months doing what they did best, adapting and improving. Without the need to coordinate with alien allies who thought differently, human engineers had been free to pursue ideas that seemed impossible to more logical species. The tide of battle turned in hours. Harvester ships that had seemed invincible were being destroyed by human vessels a tenth their size. The mechanical perfection that had made them so dangerous became a liability when faced with opponents who refused to follow any rules. Elena's ship, now reinforced with Zephyrian crew members who had proven their loyalty, struck at the heart of the Harvester formation. Beside her, Keth-Ala operated weapons systems with the precision that had made her father legendary. Target their coordination nodes, Elena ordered. If we can break their network, the whole fleet becomes individual ships instead of a unified force. Understood, Keth-Ala replied. Her crystal body glowed bright blue, the color of battle joy that Elena remembered from fighting alongside her father. The coordination nodes fell one by one. As they did, the massive Harvester fleet began to lose cohesion. Individual ships, designed to function as part of a collective intelligence, found themselves isolated and confused. This is impossible, the Supreme Harvester transmitted to his remaining units. Organic life forms cannot achieve this level of tactical sophistication. That's where you're wrong. Elena's voice cut across the communication channel. You made 2 mistakes. First, you assumed we were like other species. Second, you forgot that humans never forgive and never forget. The final battle lasted 12 hours. When it ended, the Harvester fleet was completely destroyed. Their command ship drifted powerless through space as Elena's boarding parties secured the vessel. In the aftermath, Elena stood on the bridge of the captured Harvester command ship with Keth-Ala beside her. Through the viewports, they could see human ships rescuing survivors from the dying worlds that had called for help. It is done, Keth-Ala said quietly. The Harvesters are defeated. Yes, but now comes the hard part, Elena replied. Rebuilding trust. The new galactic order that emerged from the ashes was very different from what had come before. Humanity took a position of unchallenged leadership, not through conquest but through necessity. The other species, having learned what life was like without human innovation and protection, willingly accepted human authority in exchange for security and stability. The Zephyrians, who had remained loyal, led by Kethala, were given new worlds to replace their dying homeworld. Those who had participated in the betrayal, including Vex's Mar, were exiled to a quarantined system where they could live with the consequences of their choices. But the most important change was in the galactic constitution itself. The ancient rule that had been ignored was now written in letters of light across the entrance to every spaceport in the galaxy. Never betray the humans, for they remember everything and forgive nothing. But earn their loyalty, and they will die before they abandon you. Below it, in smaller letters, was a new edition written by Elena herself. Honor is not inherited, but it can be earned. Loyalty is not demanded, but it can be given freely. Trust, once broken, can be rebuilt by those willing to pay the price in service to something greater than themselves. Captain Elena Vasquez and War Crystal Kethala stood together on the observation deck of their new joint command ship, looking out at a galaxy that finally understood the true value of what it had almost lost. "Do you think they have learned the lesson?" Kethala asked. "Some have," Elena replied. "Others will need more time. But that's okay. Humans are patient when we need to be. And when you are not patient," Elena smiled, and for the first time in months, it was not a cold or bitter expression. "Then we remind them why the rule exists in the first place." The galaxy was safe, the old rule was remembered, and somewhere in the archives, a new entry was being written about the species that had learned the hardest lesson of all. That some bonds, once broken, could only be rebuilt through the willingness to pay any price to make things right.